Welcome back to Global TV. As you can see, this is my virtual background, but no, I'm actually in space. But LaShell Tinder is not a space cadet yet.
Not yet.
Welcome, LaShell.
Nice to be with you again, Ed.
So you just came back from a trip. Where did you go?
I had a whirlwind trip, 10 days in Italy, and then jumped on a cruise for the first time in my life. And that was pretty interesting. And then Spain a couple of days and Switzerland 5 days.
So in Italy, did you go to the Amalfi Coast and have limoncello?
No, but I had limoncello, so I did part of that.
I miss that. I ought to just
Um,
go buy some here at Bevmo, but I miss the real thing, though.
yeah, it's very nice. We went to a restaurant in Milan, and the head waiter, he just like brought us one, and then he was like, "You seem to like that. Do you want to?" I'm like, "I won't say no." And then "Do you want another one?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then the fourth one was like, "No, they're not on this one."
That's funny. That's funny.
So,
Okay, so tell me about the cruise you went on. Was it a cruise ship or just a boat?
no, so it was the Celebrity Reflection, one of those
Ah,
huge boats. And I've never been on one before. So we were 3 days at sea in total, and then we had um the at port days. And so we were in Greece, we went to Rhodes, Mykonos, Santorini, Athens, Malta, and Olympia.
did
And it
you?
was very cool.
Yeah, where'd you leave from? Genoa or where? Where?
Civitavecchia.
Well, where's that?
Civitavecchia is west of Rome, like a little bit northwest of Rome.
Oh, okay, great. That's the
And I'm
seaport.
Italian now. I can't talk without my hands now. So I think I've
Okay,
always been a little bit that way.
okay. So,
So,
did you have a balcony?
yes, we did, and it was lovely.
Yeah, you need a balcony. Yeah.
It was really, really nice. And so we had 4 rooms because there were 8 of us. I met 6 of the women in Rome before we got on the boat together. And we had 4 rooms that were like, you could move the wall outside of the balconies because they had like a half partition that you could move. So we opened them up. So we had a
Oh,
shared
great, a big thing. Yeah.
balcony for all of us that we just kind of went back and forth to each other's places. So it was really fun. And great dining. The staff was amazing. And there was some really good shows in the theater. Had a lot of fun there. I attended an art auction for the first time in my life, which was fun. So they had an art auction on board. So that was a riot. And I ended up buying something. They did this mystery bid, and I was like, okay, because there was no risk. They basically said, raise your paddle. You have no risk. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. And I was like, this will be fun. In the end, I liked what it was, and it wasn't that expensive. So I bought the art. And it was fun. I mean, you like to be able to participate and see what something's like, because then it's like you've got all of your cards in there,
Right,
it's good
right.
fun.
So, was it mostly Americans on board? I would think not.
There were a lot of Americans on board. I would say probably half the ship is my guess.
Mm.
But I met people from all over. I mean, it was fun. And I kept running into this one couple that was Spanish speaking. So everywhere we went, we would be on the ship, I'd run into them. Off the ship, I'd run into them. And met some people from Italy, from Canada, from Germany. A huge combination of places. But yeah, I would say Americans definitely dominated the ship.
So before the pandemic, I had begun to develop the concept of doing a conference cruise.
Okay. I'm going to tell
And
you about what happened on this one when you tell me what you want to do.
so it's difficult, and it can be a can of worms, but it could work also if you're lucky and the staff on the ship does what they say they're going to do. But I haven't done it yet. So I've been on several cruises, but I've never done a meeting. I never produced a meeting. So my thinking was, it's evolved. My thinking started as going out of Fort Lauderdale, Carnival Cruise, tour around go to Nassau and someplace, and then come back, make it like 3-4 days and out, and I don't know, $1,000 or 1,500 or something like that. And then you could upgrade your own cabin if you wanted to. But I never started to promote it because it just got to be a pain in the neck for me. Um, but I didn't give up on it, but then the pandemic started and I put it aside. So the plan would be is to do a relatively inexpensive. People can upgrade and they can spend a lot of money, or they can get an inside cabin and spend $300 in addition to the conference fee. So I would never stay in an inside cabin myself, but others would because it's cheap. So that's one thing. And then the idea of organizing it around when it was good for me and then good for the market. In other words, the people who will buy a ticket. And because it's something special, people cannot do it right away. They have to think a year out. And a year out is crazy in planning because you have to put down money and then you don't get actually paid until the departure. And so you got all this risk, all this time. And so that scared me away from pursuing it, especially in light of COVID. So there are other people who have done it, but they've done it really first class, like the Ritz Waldorf Astoria cruises, and it's like $10,000, and they do it for 5-7 days. All right, but it's really first class, and it's worked because the people who go on it have the money. They're definitely going to do it, and it is such a magnet for bringing in top level people because it's not everyday people, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm an everyday guy, but and I don't have $10,000 to spend on a cruise myself. So there's very few people who actually do, but there's a number of them. And if you can tap into that, they'd be very loyal, I'm told.
Yeah, well, on the cruise where I was, there was a group that was there for a conference. And we kept running into that group. Honestly, not on purpose, because it was a religious leaning group that was a bit out there. But there were a lot of people with it. And I think maybe that's why there were also a higher predomination of Americans, because this was largely an American group. But the days that we were at sea was when they would have all their conference meetings.
Right.
And then the days when we were at port, they got off at port as well. Now
Right.
I have no idea like how much they paid to be on the cruise and
Right.
what happened with it. But there were quite a lot of people. So I had no idea that those kinds of things existed. So on the cruise, I was surprised that this was actually part of it.
So the deal is you have to rent the space in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the cruise lines don't want to do that. And so it becomes a waiting game, a game of chess or checkers, or steal the old man's bundle, So it's a can of worms, and so you need to have somebody who knows what they're doing, and that's a travel agent, and a travel agent makes money on departure. Even though they're soliciting up front and spending a lot of time and energy doing all that. So it's difficult unless you have somebody on like an organized group. They'd have the budget, they'd have the management power to oversee whoever's doing all the detail work. I don't want to do that detail work. Of putting it together day to day. And my Joanne was in travel business for 30 years. And so I know a lot of travel agents who do that for a living and successfully. And so I would make a deal with one of them. And, I just want everything to go smoothly because there's relationships involved and I don't want to screw it up.
I
So
wonder if there's
someday I'm
any,
going to do it. Yeah.
I wonder if there's an opportunity for like just doing a half-day cruise that's,
Yeah.
whether it's kind of going like a California, coastline up, or,
Yeah.
something like that where you could do,
Right. Well, they do
something
that
where it's
here. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Out of San Diego here, not during the summer, but so they go south to Mexico,
okay.
or they go. It's a 2 night, and they also have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 nights. So you do a 2 night. You go on the boat. It's a nice boat, and out of San Diego, and you go out. Let's see, just offshore, 100 miles is Catalina. Not even that, 26 miles across the sea. Santa Catalina is waiting for me. That's the song. Just out of LA, out in the ocean. And then they circle around there, and it's quite picturesque. And they go real slow, and so it
Mhm.
takes a day to go there. And and then they I don't know if they dock there or they just hang out. I don't remember. And then they go south to Ensenada, Mexico. So by car, it's 90 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. Just you know, Tijuana is 8 miles from where I sit, and then south from there to Ensenada, which is a resort area. It's a city, and right next to Ensenada City is like Napa Valley of Mexico, and
Hmm.
it's actually quite fertile and quite beautiful, and very, very prosperous, and very, very nice. And anyway, it docks there. It's a tourist trap, and people get off, and then they come back the next day. So I mean, it's very close, but they drag it out, and so that kind of a thing um, is like under $500 a person, and that includes food, at least 2 meals
What's
a day.
what's the capacity on one of those boats?
Oh, probably be 1,000 people.
Okay, so if you organize something like that, one, you wouldn't have to have it probably so much in advance, and two, you could have a sizable group, but it wouldn't have, you
Good,
would have to
yeah.
fill the boat.
But you can also do it for 25 people if you want
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
So
So,
then that goes to the meeting space. And
mhm.
so they don't have an organized theater. Well, some of the bigger boats probably do, but I've never seen that. I just see it. They have ballrooms or
Mhm.
nightclub act scenes. And then they also have library settings for small groups.
Mhm.
And so the cruise ship has to get paid up front, and then they lock it in, but they won't lock it in. So you can book it without booking a specific room. It doesn't cost you anything. They'll just put you on a list for when you want room, meeting space, if you will, and then with that food. And so uh, there's a lot of organizing, but
Mhm.
I think especially people our age, and even younger kids, they might get into it if they can dance the night away and whatever.
Just don't have meetings the first thing in the morning the next day.
Not allowed. Not allowed. First meeting 11 a.m. and then lunch
There
with
you go.
cocktails.
There you go.
All right.
Although
So
the crazy thing was for me, the days that I could have slept in because we were not getting off, it was at sea days. Those were the days that I woke up and I was awake. So I watched the sun come up, but it was beautiful.
you sit outside. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you walk the decks, right? Just
Yeah.
walk around the decks. And it's wonderful. When you have high seas, it's not good, but
It's kind
but
of fun. I mean, I like the movement, like the therapy pool became a wave pool, I mean, you're just kind of like,
that's fun. That's fun. Okay,
yeah.
so um, so you went on an Italian boat, so they had Italian food, right?
Oh, they had a little bit of everything, and I have celiac, so that was one of the key concerns for me is
What
How do
is
they
that?
manage allergies?
Oh, okay.
I can't, I'm one of the gluten-free people, because of an allergy. So, they did a great job of managing it. I mean, the first thing I did was go and talk to the head chef, found out how they manage a lot of their food, their preparation, etc. So, I think that that's the kind of, if people are traveling, is just to get comfortable before you go, to know what you can expect. But then when you get on board, if you do something like that, is go and talk to the people and make sure that they know who you are, what are your challenges,
Yeah,
and
they deal with that all the time. They
they
just
do.
need to know.
They do. I think that was my biggest fear, because I didn't know how it would be, because I've heard about all these big buffet lines, and we had private dining for breakfast and for dinner. But we could also do the buffet for breakfast, or well, any meal. And then lunch was available in the buffet room, but they also had like dedicated areas.
Yeah,
So
and you can always go upgrade and go into a steakhouse kind of a thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice life, you know. In fact, have you read that retirees, rather than going into a retiring home, a retirement home, they just go on cruise lines because it's actually cheaper?
Yeah, well, I tell you, having my father in a skilled nursing level, it's pretty expensive.
So you just put
So
them on a cruise boat for a month at a
hang
time.
out, but we wouldn't see him very much.
No,
That's the
right.
point. We definitely wouldn't get to see him much. So, but certainly some options there.
So you're
But
going to go back to work?
I am exploring options. I mean, one of the things that I'm doing is, I mean, I'm looking online to see if there's any head of roles, because that's where I am in my career. So if there's a head of mobility, I would definitely pursue that. I'm also open to project work, which is the last thing that I did. But while I was out traveling with these ladies, they encouraged me a lot to do some writing. And it's actually your fault, Ed. I want to tell you this. It's your fault, because you know what? You keep telling me I should write a book. So you know what? Now I've got it in my head that maybe I should start writing.
Well,
So
I haven't
anyway,
written a book, but yeah, I do this.
no, I'm teasing you, because you always bring on writers. You bring on writers. So now I'm exploring the idea of doing some writing with basically a travel how-to guide, because I've been trying to see what's out there. There's a lot of travel writing, but it talks about destinations, like how was my time in Bali? How was my time in, Budapest, kind of walking through the travel scenes, but not a lot of, if you are a more mature traveler, how do you do a travel? What do you do to be comfortable? How do you feel confident in going about the travel? Because that was the thing that traveling with these ladies was really about. I was trying to be the passenger princess, and I was failing horribly, because a passenger princess gets to just kind of go along for the ride, right? You don't have to do anything. And they had planned out all the activities. So I thought, this is the first time I'm going to be a passenger princess. I never could. I just they would try to figure something out. I'm like, oh, I could help you with that. And they're like, you're failing at being a passenger princess. So I'd say I got a D on the report card for that. But they talked about just how to travel easily, and how to make yourself feel more confident. So that's what I'm looking into. I'm doing a lot of research and seeing if I can put together an article on that.
You can. So, um, the first sentence is the hardest. So uh, I'll send you this recording, and then this is going to be the idea that launches the ship for you. There's a recording of this. We're recording right now. You're on TV. And so what I'm going to send you is the video, right? Program link. You can do whatever you want with it. But I can also send you the transcript. You can't see it, but I have captions word for word on my screen of what we're saying.
Okay.
And I will get that. Okay. And I'll send you that. And
Yeah.
then you could, I mean, this is a conversation,
Mhm.
and what you're doing in writing. No, again, I haven't written a book, but I've done a lot of this kind of writing,
Mhm.
because it's the same kind of thing, except the old fashioned is writing it or typing it. Here we are speaking it and acting it out. But it's, if you look at this thing here, oh my God, it's words.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you just pick it up and say, here's how I started. And it's conversational. It's lifestyle. It's not phony baloney.
And I think that that's the start of everything, is that you get to talking to people and then you're like, oh, actually I could do that. And it is helpful to see those kind of, like, going back and reading, whether it's a journal. I've started keeping journals on all my travels.
What's a
Um,
journal?
I buy, whenever I'm somewhere, I buy just like a little bitty something that represents the place, and it's maybe got 20, 30 pages in it. And then I just document on a day-to-day basis
Oh, what you
what
do. Yeah.
happened. So
Yeah.
I'm just journaling about my travels. And then I also take and put the pictures from what I took, there, and I capture some of those inside the journal. So I've got a record from there of what were some of the salient points that were important, some of the things that really made me just, I step back in awe. You look at the Pieta and you're just so overwhelmed by the beauty of something like that. So it takes you back to that moment to have the journal and to think about what you felt when you were standing there, and what was the noises and what were the people like, and how did you feel when you were standing in the presence. So that's what I use the journals for.
So let's go to Santorini. Did you get off the boat?
Yes.
And did you take the donkey or did you take the chairlift thing?
We took the chairlift up and we walked down. So
Oh, that's good.
didn't do the donkeys, but we did the winding path down where the donkeys go.
Yeah,
And we did the walk down because it was bloody hot. I mean, it
yeah.
was just
And 100
so
degrees.
unbelievably hot and so crowded. And so I didn't want to stand in the line to take the chairs down. And we just felt like doing the walk down. So we did that.
Yeah. And did you drink ouzo?
I know ouzo, and no, I did not. I'm not a fan of ouzo. I don't
It's
like black
strong.
licorice.
Yeah, it's strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
You put a little lemon in it and ice, you know.
I'd need a lot of lemon and a lot of ice and no ouzo. So how's
All right.
that? Just throw some limoncello in my lemon.
Yeah, that's enough. Don't get it complicated. So do you like Greek salad or do you stick with
Love Greek
Italian
salad.
salad? Yeah.
Yes.
The feta?
Yes.
Yeah, feta and tomatoes. I love tomatoes. Yeah.
Yeah, we went in one of the places that we went, and this was when we were still in Italy. We went into a truffle shop in Siena, and oh my gosh. I mean, it was just like everything in there smelled so good. We bought several different things and it was just yummy.
Mm.
I mean, you could eat your way through anywhere you are, just, enjoying all the special flavors.
Beautiful place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next cruise you're going to go on?
Cruise, I don't know. I mean, it was special largely because of the women. I really, really enjoyed being with the ladies that I was on the boat with. I mean, we had people coming up and they'd go, "Are you part of the 8?" Because we'd be down on the dance floor, grabbing people, bringing them in, dancing with us, and just having a grand time. And we were like hooping and hollering at the shows, and just like really having a grand time. I don't know that I would get on another boat if I don't have like a group of people. It's not the cruise itself, it's really the people that you're with, that made it for me. I prefer, from a travel style, being able to stay more time in a location and really get to know it. So that's, for me, a disadvantage of the cruise, is that you just get like, you get off and you got to get back on by 3:30 most days, 3:30, 4 o'clock. So, it gives you just that limited time. So I don't know if I'll jump on a cruise. Travel, yes. I mean, travel is just part of my DNA. But I don't know if I'll be on another cruise. We'll see.
So when's the last time you were in Paris?
Last time I was in Paris, 2015 or 16.
Too far.
I
Wow.
know, but I've got, I now have he's a unofficial godson. I'm not actually his godmother, but I sort of became almost like his godmother. And he and his husband, they moved there in November of last year. So I've got a place to stay now.
Well, that's good. And friends.
Yes,
Good. Good.
exactly. I'll go over and take care of their dog while they run around and travel. I love Chewy. So,
So did you like say Siena and Tuscany better than Rome?
uh, it's funny because everybody always asks me, do I have a favorite place? And I've decided I'm going to be honest with myself and say, actually, I do have a favorite country, because I keep going back, and that is Italy. It's my first love. It's the first place I traveled to. And I I am drawn to Italy. Now, within Italy, do I have a favorite place? Not yet.
So you've been to Venice
Yes.
in the rainy season where you have to wear boots?
No, and I was only there for a day. It was
No.
whenever I was 18, and it was my very first trip to Italy, and my host family took me over there.
So you
Um,
got to go back.
yeah, we were
Yeah.
planning it, and then we switched gears, and we, instead of going to Venice, we went to Lake Como.
Well, they're Italian. The
Yeah,
other way.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So because
different.
we were staying
Different
in Milan,
experience.
and we went north to Lake Como instead of going east to go to Venice, and then we dropped down to Florence.
Yeah, sure. So everything is good in Italy, that's for sure.
It is. In
Um,
fact, I've now got a goal to start learning Italian, so I'm going to go back in April probably and spend a few
wow.
weeks, and because I found a place where I can do online courses first, and then I'll get there, and then I do in-person courses 3 hours a day for Monday through Friday, and you can do it for as many weeks as you want. So I've decided I want to learn Italian.
So do you have mobility contacts in Italy?
Yes.
Good.
I didn't reach out to them because I was thinking to myself, I do have some, but I didn't reach out to any when I was there. But maybe whenever I go and stay, I've actually tried to be more focused on connecting with the people that I met when I was 18 and when I stayed in homes with people. So I'm trying to get reconnected with them, and I am connected with a girlfriend of mine that I traveled over with. We were a group from. Do you know 4-H? It's a youth organization that's
Yeah,
more of a farming community.
yeah.
So we traveled over with an exchange group within 4-H when we were 18. And so she and I have reconnected. So we might make a trip over together too.
So did you grow up on a farm?
I did.
Where?
Missouri.
I didn't know that. I thought you were a Jersey girl.
No, no, I'm a farm girl. I mean, I live in the Garden State now, but I grew up on a farm in Missouri.
Central or South?
In Jersey, where do I live now?
No, no, in Missouri.
Because that's more of a Jersey combination. I lived outside of the Kansas City area,
Oh,
near Lee
okay.
Summit. I went to school in Lee Summit.
I'm not familiar with that. I've never been to Kansas City. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I, I'm
you
I'm
should
good.
go.
I'm good at geography, so
You should definitely go to Kansas City, especially at Christmas, because it's beautiful there.
oh wow.
Go to
I'll
the
keep
plaza,
that
the
in
Central
mind.
Plaza. It's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
there's a friend of mine I have for like forever in the moving business, and mainly Texas. And then he got a job pre-COVID. He got a job in Kansas City running a moving company, and I was talking with him sometime after he took the job. He says, "What are you doing there?" He says, this is really a good place. It's just mid-America, and everything you see and touch and do is mid-America.
Mhm.
And it's very diverse population, but everything is mid-America, and everybody is into it. And it's very nice, very comfortable. And
Well,
that has stuck with me, but I haven't been there.
it is the heart of America. I mean, we are smack dab in the middle. So, it's very formative in terms of who I am growing up on a farm in Missouri.
Hmm.
Um, I think that, when you think about, um, I guess the perspective of, you know, looking at being very open and inclusive, but more so it's about just helping your neighbor.
Hmm.
It's a very Missouri thing. You go in the grocery store, you might meet somebody and end up at their house for dinner. I mean, that's the way it goes, standing in line for long enough, and it's just like you strike up a conversation. You want to come for dinner tonight? It would be great to keep talking. Yeah, sure. So
Yeah. Okay, now as we come to a close here, I don't want to end it, but I think the audience might want us to end it. But, let's talk about mobility, for instance. I invite you to join a mobility program that I'm beginning to put together. It's not together yet, but something different, but with mobility people in it, a cross section of people, to talk about what's different now than pre-COVID. All right. And of course, there's a lot of things different, and a lot of things are going to be different in the near future because of consolidation in the industry, as well as tech and compliance issues, and more. I don't know what else, but more. So come and join that. And if you think of somebody who you know in mobility, I'm sure you know more than one, tell me and I'll invite them also.
that
I
sounds
just want to
great.
build a group, a small group, actually, less than 10 people.
That sounds great.
Yeah. And I'd like to do it. It could be done in August, but it could also be done in September.
That sounds great.
And then I want to do at
Yeah.
least one a month. I'll, we can have different people, or some people could hang out,
Mhm.
but just have, what do you call it? A grab bag discussion, much like you were just talking about when you were on that cruise, just
Mhm.
a gang of 8 picking up people along the way.
And I think that, there are so many things that are transforming within mobility. And it's a combination of what's post-pandemic, but it's also a combination of how is the workplace changing just in general. So yeah, I'd be very interested.
Good. Okay, let's stay in touch.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks so
What
much.
what website, or how do people get in touch with you?
Oh, from LinkedIn, my email is lashelltender@gmail.com, so they can, request to connect with me. But I'm definitely on LinkedIn all the time.
Great.
I'm on
Thank you.
Instagram too, but I don't know if they want to do that. So I'm Pata Caliente 1963. So that's where my travels are all being documented.
Ciao.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Ciao.